I am a falcon and I want to wait. That's not how the song goes. Sorry, I'm still on lion. But today we're talking about Falcon, otherwise known as British Rail Class 53, though everyone just calls her the Falcon. If you saw my video on the lion, you probably already know where this is heading. Falcon was one of the other prototypes in the trio built for British Railways, who were searching for a second-generation Type 4 diesel locomotive. She was a cocoa wheel arrangement, constructed in 1961 by Brush Traction, with a maximum speed of 100 miles per hour, a power output of 2,880 horsepower, and a tractive effort of 60,000 lbf. During her life, she carried two different numbers, originally D0280, later renumbered to simply 1200, but most people just called her Falcon. Brush began work on her in 1959 but hit a snag. No single lightweight diesel engine in their catalog was powerful enough to meet the specification, so they opted to install two prime movers inside her, both Maybach MD655 diesel engines, a German design also used by the Class 52 Westerns, which were diesel hydraulic locomotives. It's important to clarify, though, that while they shared the same engine type, Falcon herself was a diesel-electric, exactly as the design brief demanded. The engines drove generators and traction motors of Brush's own design. She had 6 traction motors in total. Brush was able to pull this off because the warships and Westerns had already been built under license by Bristol Siddeley, part of Hawker Siddeley, which had purchased Brush in 1957, giving them ready access to those German engines. And a quick correction from my Lion video. When I mentioned the Hymex, I mistakenly called them Class 45. They are, of course, Class 35. I double-checked my notes, and all my sources say 35. I just can't read, apparently. That was entirely my fault, apologies. But that's neither here nor there for Falcon's story. Visually, Falcon looked like a typical British diesel of her era, somewhat similar in layout to the Lion but distinct in her own right. Instead of that glorious white that Lion rocked, Falcon sported a lime green and chestnut brown livery. She was initially tested on the Eastern region in 1961, based at Finsbury Park, then moved to the Western region for power unit performance trials. On February 6, 1962, she tackled the formidable Lickey Incline, acquitting herself decently, not super powerful but capable enough for the job. That March, Brush took her back for upgrades and to fit her with cast Falcon nameplates, because they wanted her to look the part. She returned to British Railways in 1963, spending 6 months working out of Darnall Shed in Sheffield on both passenger and freight duties, after which the formal testing phase wrapped up and once again she went home to Brush for improvements. During this overhaul, her livery was tweaked to a two-tone green with half-height yellow warning panels. Now, here's the crux. Falcon was a perfectly serviceable diesel. She worked well. The trouble was that her exact specifications were rapidly overtaken by events. Advances in domestic diesel engine technology meant that by the early 1960s, Britain no longer needed to outsource designs. Their own engines were now powerful, lighter, and simpler. Falcon's big drawback was having 2 prime movers. Most diesels only need one big one, and the newer homegrown engines could deliver the required power without the complexity of a twin-engine layout. British Railways sent out a call for a new design, and Brush actually won that order, producing the Class 47, which does share a passing resemblance in layout to both Lion and Falcon. Some people still debate this, but in a direct sense neither is truly a prototype of the 47. Brush certainly learned a lot from Falcon, so you could call her an influential stepping stone, but she didn't directly beget the 47. As for Falcon herself, British Rail didn't want to scrap a working locomotive, so they kept her on. She remained a one-off. No sisters were built. From 1965 onward, while still owned by Brush, she was contracted to BR, who handled day-to-day operation and routine repairs, with major overhauls still going back to Brush. She was allocated to Bristol Bath Road alongside the Class 52 Westerns, which made perfect sense. They shared the same Maybach engine, so depot staff were already familiar with her power units, even though Falcon was diesel-electric while the Westerns were hydraulic. By 1970, British Rail finally bought the locomotive from Brush for a nominal sum, essentially her scrap value. Brell Swindon gave her a light rebuild, swapping the old vacuum brakes for modern air brakes, and she emerged in standard rail blue with full yellow ends and her new number, 1200. She returned to Bristol Bath Road, rejoining her Western classmates, and by March 1974 was hammering away on iron or trains. She did have a steam heating boiler, but that year it was isolated. There were no plans to put her back on passenger trains, and newer coaching stock no longer needed steam heat anyway. However, in 1975 she was finally slated for withdrawal. By the mid-70s BR was standardizing its fleet, ruthlessly weeding out anything non-standard. All diesel hydraulics were being phased out, and Falcon's twin-engine layout, combined with her foreign-built prime movers, made her an obvious candidate. Despite her 15 years of reliable service, she was classified as non-standard and pulled from traffic. There were genuine efforts to preserve her. She was a unique, named locomotive with a personality, and rail enthusiasts tried to save her. Sadly, they failed. Falcon was broken up between March and April 1976 at Cashmore's of Newport. Just like Lion, she's long gone, though she did live a little longer and actually earned her keep in BR service. Something Lion never managed, having been confined to the experimental phase and then dismantled by her own builders. Brush, at least, gave Falcon a chance to stretch her legs. And that's something. Today, you can still find 00 gauge models of her, produced by Heljan back in 2007. I hear terrible things about Heljan, so I'm not sure that's a great idea. But hey, it's an option. You know how it is. Till next time, this is Darkness with a habitual farewell.